There's a specific kind of frustration that I think every single person in the working world has felt at some point. It's the Monday morning reality check.
Oh, I know the one.
It's that moment when you look at the big plan. Maybe it's that glossy strategy document from the expensive offsite or the New Year's resolution list.
The project roadmap that looked so perfect on the whiteboard.
Exactly. On paper, it's flawless. The logic is sound. The math adds up.
It's a masterpiece in a binder.
A masterpiece. But then you look at what's actually happening in the office, on the factory floor, or even just in your own daily schedule. And it's chaos.
Total chaos.
The plan says optimize efficiency. And the reality is you're just running around with a fire extinguisher trying to stop everything from burning down.
The plan meets the punch in the face. Mike Tyson was right.
Precisely. And that paradox, why smart people with brilliant plans still end up just, struggling to keep the lights on, that's what we're unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into the execution gap.
And we are doing it through a really fascinating lens today. We're not looking at Silicon Valley or Wall Street. We're looking at the South African trucking industry.
Which I love. It's so gritty, it's tangible, you can't fake it in trucking.
No, you can't. The wheels are either turning or they're not.
It's the ultimate stress test for any business strategy.
It really is. And we're basing this deep dive on a very hard-hitting piece from Greystride. They work directly with these fleet owners, people who have real skin in the game, who are trying to scale up in an economy that is, well, let's be honest, it's unforgiving.
And the stakes here are just wild. If a tech startup misses a deadline, maybe they ship a buggy app.
Right.
If a trucking fleet fails at execution, they bleed cash, trucks get repossessed, and businesses can just collapse.
It is pure survival. And Greystride's core premise is something that might actually surprise people. They found that when these businesses fail, it's almost never because the owner didn't know what to do.
All right, looking at the source, the goals are pretty universal.
Yeah.
Improve cash flow, reduce maintenance costs, keep the trucks moving. It's not a secret recipe.
Exactly. It's not an information problem. It's not like the failing fleet owners are sitting there wondering, gee, I wonder if saving money on diesel would help. They know the strategy. The problem is the execution gap.
The chasm.
It's a massive chasm between knowing you need to inspect tires daily and actually getting 50 different human beings to physically do that every single morning at 5 a.m.
And falling into that gap, it doesn't just mean missing a target. It leads to this state that the source calls reactive mode.
That's the danger zone. Reactive mode is when the business starts running you instead of you running the business.
I think I've spent entire years of my life in reactive mode.
We all have. You wake up and your day is dictated by the phone ringing. A driver's sick, a truck stuck at the border, a client is angry about a late delivery. You spend 12 hours solving problems just to get back to zero.
It is exhausting.
It's completely unsustainable. And the goal of this deep dive is to figure out how to escape that trap. How do you move from being a firefighter to being what Greystride calls a disciplined operator? And a spoiler alert, the answer is not work harder.
Thank goodness, because I don't think these fleet owners could physically work any harder.
No, they are already redlining. The solution is structural. So we're going to walk through 6 specific points where execution breaks down, 6 ways the plan dies, and, how to fix them.
Okay, let's get into the weeds.
Yeah.
Failure point number 1. The source labels this. Strategy fails when it is detached from operational reality. This sounds like the classic ivory tower problem.
It is, but with much more serious consequences. The issue is how strategies are created. Usually you're in a quiet room, you've got your Excel spreadsheet open, and you plug in the numbers. Okay, if the truck runs 28 days a month and diesel costs this much and the driver drives this fast, we make millions.
It's a perfect world simulation. The sun is shining, the roads are smooth, nobody ever gets the flu.
Exactly. It's what I call happy path planning. But then you take that plan and you drop it into the real South African logistics environment. And what happens?
Reality hits. The source lists the sheer volatility these guys face. Breakdowns, driver shortages, strikes, customers delaying payment, fuel price spikes.
And here is the crucial psychological mistake most leaders make. When those things happen, they treat them as exceptions. They say, oh, we had a bad month because of the strike, or we missed the target because the truck broke down.
Like it's just bad luck. If only things were normal, the plan would have worked.
Precisely. But Greystride makes this brilliant point. In this industry, volatility is the operating environment. It's not the exception, it's the rule.
That's a huge mindset shift.
It is. If you're running a fleet, a breakdown isn't an anomaly, it's a statistical certainty.
It's like planning a picnic in a rainforest. If you get mad that it rains, well, that's on you. You should have built a roof.
That's a perfect analogy. The disciplined operator doesn't pray for sunshine. They build a roof. They design for constraints.
So what does that look like, practically?
Well, it means you build your cash flow model, assuming the client pays in 60 days, not the 30 days that's on the invoice.
Right.
You build your fleet schedule, assuming 10% of the trucks will be in the shop. You basically lower the ceiling of your plan to match the floor of your reality.
So you're not chasing a fantasy number anymore. You're hitting a target that's actually achievable in the mud and the rain.
And ironically, that reduces stress. Because when the chaos happens, you aren't shocked. You budgeted for it. You stay calm because you're executing a plan that lives in the real world.
Okay, so step one is just radical realism. Let's move to the second failure point. This one feels personal to me because I think every entrepreneur battles it. The bottleneck dilemma.
Ah, yes, the superhero syndrome.
The source paints this picture of the owner or the MD who feels like they have to touch everything. They approve every single invoice. They mediate every driver dispute. They make every single hiring decision.
And it comes from a place of care, right? They think, this is my business. Nobody cares as much as I do, so they hold on tight. They feel like if they let go, even for a second, things will slip.
It feels like control. But the source argues it's actually a trap.
It's a structural bottleneck. I mean, just think about the physics of it. If every decision has to pass through your brain, then the growth of the business is strictly limited by your personal bandwidth, and your bandwidth is finite.
You become the lid on the jar.
Exactly. If you get sick, the business stops. If you get distracted, the business just drifts. Greystride has a quote here that I just love. This is not a workload problem. It is a design problem.
Oof. That hits hard. Because usually when we're overwhelmed, our instinct is just to try and be more efficient.
Right. I'll just wake up an hour earlier.
I'll answer emails faster.
Just pedal the bike faster.
But you can't out-pedal a bad design. You haven't built a business. You've built a high-stress job for yourself that nobody else can do. So how do we fix the design? How does a control freak learn to let go without the wheels just falling off?
You have to high-grade the organization, and that means creating explicit clarity around decision rights.
Decision rights. Unpack that a little.
It means you stop being the only person allowed to say yes. You set rules. For example, your workshop manager has the right to approve any repair under, say, 5,000 Rand. He doesn't need to call you. He just does it.
So you're not abdicating responsibility, you're just systematizing it.
Yeah.
You set the boundary and they get to play within it.
Exactly. You are building an engine that runs without you manually having to turn the crank. The goal is to be the driver of the car, not the engine itself.
Yeah.
If you have to get out and push the car for it to move, you aren't driving.
That is a crucial distinction. Build an engine, don't be the engine.
Okay.
Okay, failure point number 3. This is about the disconnect between what we say and what we do. Strategy without behavior change is not a strategy.
This is what I call the gym membership effect.
Oh, I know this well. You buy the membership on January 1st, and the act of spending the money makes you feel fit. You think, I have solved the fitness problem.
And then you never go. It's exactly the same in business. You pay a consultant, you have a big strategy session, you write down, we will reduce fuel consumption by 10%. Everyone nods. You feel great, you have a plan.
But then Monday rolls around.
And the driver gets in the truck and drives exactly the same way he did last week. The dispatcher plans the route the same way. The finance team reviews the costs the same way. The specific daily behaviors, they haven't changed at all.
So the strategy is just a hallucination. It's just words on a wall.
Strategy is a verb. It is what you do, not what you say you're going to do. If the habits don't shift, the results won't shift.
But why is it so hard to change habits? The source calls this the silent execution killer.
Lack of discipline. And I want to be really clear here. Greystride points out that this isn't about laziness or stupidity. These are hardworking people. But discipline is about consistency under pressure.
It's the grind.
It's the grind. Let's take the tire pressure example again. It's the perfect microcosm. The strategy says, check tires daily. Easy. But on Tuesday, it's pouring rain. The driver is late. He thinks, I checked them yesterday. They looked fine. I'll skip it today.
And the truck doesn't explode. He gets to the destination. Nothing bad happens immediately.
Exactly. The feedback loop is delayed. So the standard slips. And then on Wednesday, he's in a rush again. He skips it. And suddenly, checking tires is optional. This is what's called operational drift.
Operational drift, it's like entropy. If you aren't actively holding the standard, it naturally dissolves.
That's it. And in a high-pressure environment like trucking, people default to their lowest level of training or their path of least resistance. If the habit is we cut corners when we're busy, then your strategy is useless because in this industry, you are always busy.
So the fix is making things non-negotiable.
Yes. Discipline creates stability. Stability enables execution. You need clear operational standards, not vague goals like be safe, but specific binary actions. The truck does not leave the yard until this checklist is signed, period.
Sure.
No debate.
It sounds rigid, but I guess that rigidity is what creates the safety net.
It creates the platform you can build on. You can't execute complex maneuvers if you can't even stand still without falling over.
Speaking of knowing where you stand, let's talk about data. Section 4 is data-rich, insight-poor.
The illusion of intelligence.
We live in the age of big data. I mean, modern trucks are like spaceships. They track GPS, speed, RPMs, idle time. There's a river of data coming in. So how can these companies be insight poor?
Because having data and knowing what to do with it are two completely different things. Most companies are drowning in data but starving for wisdom. They track what I call vanity metrics.
Give me an example of a vanity metric in trucking.
Total revenue or total kilometers traveled. You look at the dashboard and you say, wow, we drove 1 million kilometers this month. We're crushing it.
But driving 1 million kilometers costs a lot of money.
A whole lot of money. You can drive 1 million kilometers and lose money on every single one of them if your rates are wrong or your costs are too high. Being busy is not the same as being profitable.
So what should they be measuring? The source talks about meaningful indicators.
You need to get granular. Instead of asking, did the fleet make money? You need to ask, did truck number 42 make money on that specific route to Durban?
That's a totally different level of question.
It is, because what you often find is the cross-subsidization trap. You have 10 trucks, 7 are printing cash, 3 are bleeding money because they're on bad routes or have mechanical issues. But if you only look at the fleet average, everything looks okay. The winners are hiding the losers.
The average lies.
The average always lies. The source also suggests measuring operational decisions that erode margin.
That's a fascinating phrase, measuring your own bad decisions.
It takes a brave leader to do that, but think about it. How often does a dispatcher accept a load just to keep a truck moving? They think, well, we have to take this load to get the truck back to Joburg. But the rate is terrible. You're burning diesel, tires, and driver hours for zero profit, maybe even a loss.
But it feels like work. It feels productive because the wheels are turning.
That's the emotional trap. We accept loads to avoid the pain of a truck sitting idle. But a disciplined operator looks at the data and says, no, the math doesn't work. It is cheaper to park the truck than to run it for a loss.
Moving from I think
to
I know. Using data to shut down emotional decisions.
Exactly.
Okay, we've covered reality, bottlenecks, discipline, and data. Now let's talk about the human engine. Motivation. I feel like in trucking and startups and sales, we rely so much on the rah-rah speed.
The locker room pep talk, yeah.
Come on, guys, let's push through one more week. But the source says, structure over motivation. Why? Are they saying motivation is bad?
No, not at all. Motivation is great, but it's fuel, and fuel runs out. You cannot be pumped up 247, 365. And neither can your drivers.
Especially when they've been driving for 10 hours, it's raining, they miss their families, and now they have a flat tire.
Exactly. Willpower fatigues like a muscle. If your business model relies on everyone trying their absolute hardest every single day just to survive, you are fragile. You will burn out.
So what replaces motivation when the tank is empty?
Structure. Systems. The source outlines 4 key pillars you need as the complexity increases.
Let's run through them quickly.
First is external perspective. When you are deep in the weeds, fighting fires, you lose perspective. You can't read the label from inside the bottle. You need an advisor, a board, someone who can stand outside the storm and look at the map.
That makes sense. Someone who isn't emotional about today's specific chaos.
Second is structured accountability. And this isn't about blaming people. It's about a rhythm, a weekly meeting that never gets canceled, a checklist that must be signed. It's a system that checks if the job was done, so you don't have to just rely on trusting that everyone is motivated today.
Trust is good, but checking is better.
In operations, checking is love. Third is objective decision-making, which we've talked about with the data. And fourth is ongoing course correction.
What does that mean in practice?
It means accepting that you will drift. Even the best ships drift off course because of currents and wind. You need a mechanism, a monthly review, a quarterly audit that forces you to look at the compass and steer back. You don't wait until you're about to hit the rocks to check your position.
So, putting this all together,
Yeah.
the disciplined operator doesn't treat execution like a one-time event. They treat it as a management system.
It's a machine they build and maintain. It's not sexy. It's not about giving a great speech or having a charismatic leader. It's about boring, repetitive consistency.
You know, boring has come up a few times today. Predictability. Consistency. It sounds, well, a little dull. But in business, boring is profitable.
Boring is beautiful.
So let's zoom out. If a listener, whether they run a trucking fleet or a marketing agency or a coffee shop, if they actually do all this, if they bridge that execution gap, what does the transformation look like on the other side?
The result is control.
Control.
Think about that fleet owner we started with. Stressed, reactive, phone always ringing, terrified of the bank balance. Now imagine that same owner, but they've implemented these systems. They walk in on Monday, they know exactly which trucks are profitable, they know the maintenance is being done because the system enforces it. They aren't needed for every little decision because the team has clear rights.
The silence must be deafening.
It's a different kind of silence. It's the hum of the engine working. The source describes it as moving with intent rather than urgency.
I love that distinction. Urgency is running around because the house is on fire. Intent is building a house that doesn't catch fire in the first place.
Exactly. And that is the difference between struggling operators and the consistently successful ones. Greystride makes a really provocative point here at the end. They say the difference isn't ambition.
Right, everyone wants to win.
Everyone wants to be rich. Everyone wants to be the market leader. Ambition is common. It's cheap. Execution discipline is rare.
That's the kicker, isn't it?
Right.
We look at successful companies and we think, wow, they must have had some brilliant secret idea.
And usually their idea was pretty standard. Move a box from A to B. The difference was that they showed up, followed the process, and held the line on standards every single day for 5 years while everyone else got bored or distracted by the next shiny object.
They did the boring work religiously.
They mastered the mundane.
This brings us to a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah.
And this is a bit of a challenge based on what we've learned today. We've been talking about trucks and tires, but I want you to apply this to whatever you're working on right now.
It applies to everything.
The question is this. Look at your last failed project, or the last big goal you missed. Was it actually a bad idea? Was the strategy fundamentally wrong? Or did you just lack the daily discipline to see it through?
It's an uncomfortable question. Nobody wants to admit they just drifted.
Yeah.
But if it was a discipline problem, a new, better idea won't save you. Only better execution will.
That is something to chew on for the rest of the week. Ambition gets you to the starting line, but discipline is what gets you to the destination.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the execution gap. A huge thank you to the insights from Greystride for grounding this discussion in the gritty reality of logistics. Hopefully you can take a little bit of that disciplined operator mindset into your own chaos this week. Thanks for listening.
Keep executing.
See you next time.